not see her and entered the Ali Bey Grand Lane quickly, and in a flash eye entered the Raya room in 38, Ali Bey Lane the Big. Khadra entered Rayya's room and found Abdul Razak alone, but found the 4 men waiting for her. Abdul Razak and Orabi sitting on top of the attic, and Hasabullah and Muhammad Abdul Al sitting on the floor leaning their backs against the wall. The 4 men received her with an indescribable welcome, and Khadra was very happy with the reception. Abdul Razak reassured her that he had not changed his words, and that they would spend the night at the Jawani Hotel. Orabi said that they insisted on celebrating her and inviting her to several glasses of wine, so that they could arrive at the hotel in a state of euphoria and happiness. Raya had informed her sister Sakina of the killing of Khadra Muhammad al-Lami minutes before it was carried out, to ensure her cooperation and fearing that Sakina would report them in case of any problem or disagreement between them, as she always did. Also, because Muhammad Abdul Al knew of his participation in the crime, and consequently, Sakina would have known from him. Thus, it was Raya who informed her. When Abd al-Razak left the Alley of Salvation with Khadra Muhammad al-Lami, Raya asked Sakina to take her to Ali Bey's large house, and on the way Raya informed Sakina of the plan to kill Khadra Muhammad al-Lami. In Sakina's subsequent statements, she reported that Raya told her, "Shufi, my sister," to Mom's Hanem. This was the pseudonym of Khadra by which the gang knew her. She said to her, "Rania, Shufi, my sister, the woman who used to tell me that she does not take more than a quarter of a rial from a man. She used to take more from them and hide the money from us and save them from Warana and go buy the Mabaran nuts." Sakina replied to Raya and told her, "What do you mean, sister? Isn't this one of her hardships? The Galbana and sweat too." Raya responded to the response that revealed the plan from the beginning, the plan to kill prostitutes and steal their jewelry, and said, "Never. Everyone who came to us in the camp house and made jewelry, we must see it, remove it, and dye it. Honda used to wear bracelets and cover them so that we wouldn't see them." Raya and Sakina arrived at the house of Ali Bek the Great, and their arrival was a pleasant surprise for Khadra, who was reassured by Raya and Sakina's presence. The presence of Raya and Sakina was very important for 2 reasons. 1. Reassuring Khadra and giving the session a family character, so that they relieve her anxiety and tension, and forget the attempt to steal her jewelry from Abdul Razak less than 10 days ago. 2. Securing the whole process, so that they delude the neighbors if they hear any sound during the killing of Khadra, whether this is the voice of Raya or the voice of her sister Sakina. So Raya and Sakina deliberately spoke loudly to delude the neighbors that they were eating with some of their friends. Raya appeared to be surprised by the presence of Abdul Razak and Khadra and asked Abdul Razak, "You didn't say that you were going to Jawani?" Muhammad Abdul Al took 5 piastres out of his pocket and gave them to Raya to buy wine, and Orbi took out another 5 piastres and gave them to Raya to buy food with them. Raya prepared food and wine and left it in front of them, and went up to her neighbor and friend Rajab to get the hatchet from her. Khadra did not notice the gaze of the 4 men when Raya returned and left the hatchet negligently next to the minister. Khadra had drunk, and the effect of alcohol began to make her lose consciousness, and she did not notice that men did not drink alcohol and that they would fill the cup for her to the end. So much so that Orabi Hassan poured the one in his cup for her and told her that he had drunk a large amount of wine before he came. Khadra felt that the wine tastes different, stronger than the one she was used to, and its effect surpasses all the times I drank it before. The men were talking to each other, but Khadra wasn't paying attention to any conversation between them and didn't understand what they were saying. I also noticed that Raya and Sakina went out and closed the door behind them. The last thing Khadra saw and heard was Orabi Hassan, who would come down from the atticle and ask her to get up and sit next to Abd al-Razak. Khadra got up while staggering from sugar, and at this moment, he reached out to her to help her stand. At the moment when she was accused of climbing on the attic, Abdul Al caught her foot very strongly, and Abdul Razak surrounded her chest with his arm and immobilized her completely, and Orabi Hassan muffled herself with a handkerchief moistened with water, and according to God, he fixed her head and prevented her of movement completely. Khadra Muhammad al-Lami fell lifeless. Allah leaned over Khadra's body to hear her heartbeat and make sure it stopped, and when he was reassured that she was dead, they snatched away the jewelry that she adorned with, the pair of mabarim, the throat, the pulp, and the anklets. Khadra Muhammad al-Lami was buried in the cemetery of Raya chamber in 38 Ali Bek al-Kabir alley, in the lower layer at a depth of a meter or a little more, under the attic. Hopefully I will dedicate a detailed episode about the cemetery of Raya room in 38 Ali Bek Ali the Great in full detail. Muhammad al-Lami's vegetable jewelry was sold for £18, for less than half its real value, as they sold it to Ali Muhammad Hassan al-Sayegh. The amount was divided into 6 equal parts, but Muhammad Abdul Al claimed that the sale was made for £28 and that his share was £4.5. None of the men talked about the £20 that Khadra had. There are 2 possibilities. First, Khadra did not really have money, and that she used the £20 to buy some of her son's marriage supplies and left the things at the cellar to return later to collect them. Second, the men took the money and didn't tell Raya and Sakina about it. After the murder of Khadra Muhammad al-Lami, there was no fuss or problems around Raya and Sakina, and nothing happened that caused them to fear or worry. Khadra's children were accustomed to their mother's long absence, so they did not report her absence until 12 days later. Her son Abdul Muttalib filed a report at the Frankincense police station at 1:30 in the afternoon of Friday, January 2, 1920, where he stated that his mother left the house 12 days ago and did not return, and stressed that he believes there are any enmities or problems behind her absence, suggesting she may have gone to visit the cemeteries. The report entered into a spiral of routine and neglect at the Frankincense police station until it was saved on February 23, 1920. The body of Khadra Muhammad al-Lami was found on Friday, December 24, 1920, a year and 3 days after her burial, in the lower tier of the cemetery of the Raya chamber in 38 Ali Bek al-Kabir alley, at a depth of a meter or a little more, and was the last body to be found. The forensic report on the body of Khadra Muhammad al-Lami explained that it belonged to a woman no more than 45 years old, and the date of her burial did not exceed a year. The body was in irregular condition, with legs bent over the thighs, forearms spread out on the sides, and the mouth open, indicating that she died squatting. She was wearing a black cloth robes and a white undershirt with thin yellow stripes, and on her neck was a red coral necklace. The coroner found no signs of violence or strangulation, the hyoid bone was intact, and there were no fractures or bruises in the skull. Sakina relayed the last shot of Khadra Muhammad al-Lami after her death and before her burial, when she saw her next to her sister Raya in the light of the saddle that rested on the edge of the grave. She was green, full of white, sweet, and she had nothing but a red striped dress and a fluffy shirt, and her eyes were open to the other, Sakina said. This concludes the story of the first victim, Khadra bint Muhammad al-Lami. I hope I have succeeded in presenting the truth and conveying the whole picture. If you like the video, I hope you will support me by participating and subscribing to the channel. See you in the next episodes, where we will address all the victims, God willing. May you be well, and peace, mercy and blessings of God be upon you.